Hey guys, it's Mallory here with All About Cats, and in this week's video we're going to be taking a look at the Findster Duo Plus GPS pet tracker, specifically evaluating how well it works for cats. So a little over a year ago, we did a complete review on the best cat trackers on the market. I'll put a link to it in the description as well as in the cards. But in that video, we go over some of the different types of trackers that are available and review some of the most popular options on the market. One of our top recommendations was the Findster Duo Plus. It's a GPS pet tracker that operates without relying on cell coverage. And this gives you a couple of advantages over your typical tracker. One being that you can track your cat anywhere, whether you have cell service or not. And the second one being that you are free of monthly fees. In this video, we're going to be going in depth on the Findster Duo Plus, talking about how well it tracks, how consistent it is, how long its battery lasts, and how well it works in real world situations. So I've done a number of different things in order to determine how well the Findster Duo Plus works for cats. I opened up the package, I set it up, and I put it on my cats. And then, of course, I tried out the app and started testing it out. I also did a couple of field tests, simulations of situations in which your cat is missing or you're trying to track them outside. So I took the two modules outside and went out for a walk to see how consistently the GPS tracker was updating on the map. And I also did something of a lost cat simulation. So I had someone take the tracking module and then for 5 minutes kind of run off somewhere. And this would simulate a cat running off out of your sight. And then after the 5 minutes were up, I would take the Guardian module and my phone and try to find the tracker. I did this in a couple of different environments in order to really get a feel for how well the Findster Duo Plus worked in wooded environments as well as more open settings. Before we talk about my experience and my conclusions on whether or not this is going to be a good choice, let's talk a bit about the Findster Duo Plus and what makes it different from other GPS trackers. So as I mentioned earlier, the primary point of difference between the Findster Duo Plus and other GPS trackers is the fact that it doesn't require cell coverage. So a typical GPS tracker needs to have cell service in order to transmit signal from the tracker on your cat to your phone. The Findster Duo Plus is different. So you get two modules instead of one, and the GPS tracker on your cat's collar is going to communicate with GPS satellites, and then using their proprietary Maze protocol, it's able to communicate by radio frequency with the Guardian module. The Guardian module then is going to act as a gateway between the tracker and your smartphone and give you information from that tracker displayed in the Findster app. So when you get the Findster Duo Plus, it's going to come in this box, which contains both the Guardian and tracking module. It also comes with a little charger, though unfortunately it doesn't come with an AC adapter. It comes with a little band that allows you to attach the tracker to your cat's collar. And then of course it includes a setup guide. The most time-consuming part of starting to use the Findster Duo Plus is the fact that you need to charge everything up before you use it. So the Findster Duo Plus takes a couple of hours to charge up before it's ready to use. Once everything is charged, you're going to download the Findster app and get everything connected. Once you've paired the modules and gotten your profile set up with a picture of your cat and gotten everything ready to go, you're going to have to put the tracker onto your cat. So my experience using the Findster Duo Plus on my cat Wessie was pretty good, surprisingly good actually. This is a pretty large tracker. It looks really uncomfortable to me when Wessie's wearing it, but he seemed perfectly fine with it. Again, I've used this a few times over the last year. When I tried it out back in December of last year, I found that he didn't seem to have an issue wearing it. And again, when I put it on him just recently, he also seemed quite comfortable wearing it. He seemed comfortable running around the house, grooming, snoozing, doing pretty much everything that he normally would while wearing this tracker on his collar. Now, I know from experience that Wessie does seem a little bit more comfortable when he's not wearing a collar at all, so I do think it's certainly less comfortable than not wearing a tracker, but it didn't seem to impede his freedom of movement, and he didn't really seem uncomfortable with it. I wouldn't say that this is the rule for all cats. There are probably a lot of cats, perhaps the majority of cats, who are going to feel uncomfortable wearing something this large attached to their collar. And once I had gotten everything set up and the tracker was on my cat's collar, it was time to test it out. So the first thing that I look at when I'm evaluating a GPS tracker is how frequently it updates and how well you're able to track your cat's movement while looking at the map. So like most GPS trackers, the Findster Duo app gives you a nice little map that shows your cat's location, and it updates about every 10 seconds. I found that this was quite consistent. So I tested it a number of times, kind of running around with the tracker and watching how the map updated. And while it did disconnect fairly frequently, like most trackers, it tended to reconnect pretty promptly as well. Over multiple tests, I was generally able to get a pretty good reading on where the tracker was located. But although the Findster Duo Plus seems to be pretty accurate as far as GPS trackers go, there is a certain limitation to all GPS trackers. They're never going to be able to bring you within inches of your cat. You're probably going to be familiar with this. If you've ever gone geocaching, you know that the GPS can get you within the general range, but once you're within the general range, it's probably going to be up to your geosense, or in this situation, cat sense, to find what you're trying to find. And it's for this reason that I think a lot of people opt for radio frequency trackers. While these trackers aren't able to show your cat's location on a map, they are able to bring you within inches of your cat. And so they can be really useful if your cat's hiding somewhere and things just aren't so obvious. But the nice thing about the Findster Duo Plus is that in addition to the standard map screen, it also has a radar screen. So once you're within about 60 feet or 20 meters of the tracking module, you're able to turn on the radar screen and really fine-tune your positioning and figure out how to get to that tracking module. In my lost cat simulation, I found that the radar tool was very helpful for getting me going in the right direction once I've gotten within close range. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely helpful. And based on my experience using other GPS trackers, I can say that this is definitely a very, very welcome addition. So overall, I would say that the Findster Duo Plus has really high accuracy. Of course, this is going to be varied depending on what type of environment you're in. I found that when I was using it in the woods, it was a little bit less accurate than it was when I was in a more open area. So it's not perfect, but compared to the other GPS trackers that I've tried, it was definitely one of the best. The next thing that I want to talk about is the range of the Findster Duo Plus. So the Findster Duo Plus is supposed to be able to pick up a signal from up to 3 miles or 4.8 kilometers away. So this range is significantly smaller than other GPS trackers that use cell to connect. So for instance, a product like the Whistle Go is going to be able to detect your cat pretty much anywhere in North America. So because you have to use this maze protocol in order to connect to your pet's tracking module, the range is significantly smaller. Another kind of downside of the Findster Duo Plus is that you have to start a walk within the app in order to start tracking. This means that you have to be near your pet or near the tracker when you start that walk and begin tracking. You're also not able to start tracking if there's some sort of surprise situation, like your cat has darted out of the house and you don't know where they are. So I think this is a very significant downside of the Findster Duo Plus. You are able to create virtual fences within the app. This means you can mark off safe zones and receive alerts when your cat leaves that safe zone. But because you are not going to be tracking unless you have manually chosen to start tracking your cat, there's a good chance that your cat could just leave that safe zone while you're not tracking, and you would never know about it, and you wouldn't be able to connect, and you would not know about your cat's whereabouts. So as for activity tracking, you are able to monitor your cat's activity to some extent within the app. So they're going to tell you how much time your cat has spent walking over the last day or the last week. It's also going to give you information on how much time your cat has spent resting. So overall, I'd say that the Findster Duo Plus activity tracking system is decent. It's not the most advanced on the market, but I think that for most people who are using this for a cat, a lot of advanced tracking is not really going to be necessary or even desirable. The next thing that I want to talk about is battery life. So the Findster Duo Plus doesn't have the best battery life of any product on the market. So if you're tracking continuously, you have the GPS always turned on, the battery is going to last for up to 12 hours. And then if you're not using the GPS at all and you're just using it as a little activity tracker, then the battery is going to last for up to 7 days. So now that we've gone over the features of the Findster Duo Plus and how it works, let's talk about how much it costs. So one tracker, complete with the Guardian module and the pet module and everything that you need to get started, is going to cost $104.99 right now. So if you purchase a bundle with 2 pet trackers, it's going to cost $139.99. And then if you buy a tracking system with 3 pet modules, that's going to cost $174.99. Findster is currently running a 30% off sale, so it's unclear when the price of these trackers is going to jump back up. And it's worth noting that while you aren't going to have to pay a monthly fee for service, Findster recently introduced Findster Care, which is included in your purchase. You get a 30-day free trial, and then afterwards you're going to pay $3.99 if you choose to opt in. Fortunately, you're able to cancel if you're not interested in Findster Care in the long run. What this is a health service that connects you with veterinarians who will monitor your cat's activity, notice any changes or abnormalities, and give you a heads up. And they can also consult with you if you're noticing any issues in your cat's health. So it's a kind of cool little health service that can be bundled with your purchase of the Findster tracker. Now, I didn't try out Findster Care, and I can't really comment on whether or not it's worth it. Perhaps that's something to cover in a later video. So overall, do I think that the Findster Duo Plus tracker is a good option for cats? It really depends. I think that the biggest downside of this tracker is the fact that you can't track your cat unless you have initiated tracking. You're not able to use it indoors, and generally you're just a little bit limited in most of the areas that really matter for cat guardians. It's also not going to be a good option if you're looking for something that can help you to track your cat indoors or when they're underneath something that would obstruct the GPS signal. That's the case with any GPS tracker. It's also not going to be a good choice if you're looking for something really small and lightweight and designed for cats. This is a pretty big, clunky tracker that's going to be uncomfortable for small or sensitive cats. But the Findster Duo Plus can be an excellent option in a few cases. So if you are someone who goes out for walks with your cat, you're someone who likes to go out adventuring with your cat under somewhat controlled conditions, then the Findster Duo Plus can be a great thing to attach to their collar so that you have some peace of mind knowing that if they do run off during that walk, you're going to be able to pinpoint their location. And because it is a particularly reliable GPS tracker that tends to update really frequently and be pretty accurate, which also happens to have the nice radar screen to help you pinpoint your cat's location, it can be a really good tool for finding your cat in these situations. And then when you also consider the fact that it works whether you have cell coverage or not, and that you don't have to pay any recurring fees, it looks like a pretty nice option compared to other GPS trackers out there. So I think that's about it for our review of the Findster Duo Plus. I hope that this gave you a better understanding of how this tracker works and whether or not it could be a good option for your cat. If you have any more questions about this tracker, please let me know about them in the comments and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Again, I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in more product reviews like this one, as well as buyer's guides and information on all things cats, please subscribe to the All About Cats channel and click the notification bell so you get the news every time we release a new upload. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.